Recording.
Here and what effective. So we're gonna, that's how we want to find out what's your issues.
Standby bang.
We're gonna write some of the issues that you have there. So can you just volunteer afterwards, you know? 2 more minutes, come on.
Ni je. So, letak sini so. Settle semua.
Are you done? Now can I ask you, anyone met more than 3 people? More? I mean, they really shake hand, or they really hug, or they really say something? More? No one? Doesn't matter. You know, you don't know, you hug your neighbors lah, basically. 3, no more, no one hug or met more than 3 people? They know, I know they know, but okay, you did more than 3. Who are they? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You deserve to win this cookies. Kan dah kata, kalau you just do a little bit, then you can win. And did any one of you ask this kind of questions to your colleague? Anyone? Why are you here? Okay, all right. Can just, we are being very interactive now. Can we just speed up so that then Jamilah will put it in, and towards the end we will respond to it, because we rather would like to know what you have in mind. What would you like to know, rather than we download you? Yeah. So I mean, we are kind of a Google helper for you. You know, you Google ourselves. Yes, ma'am. Okay, how to be cool. Okay, nak jadi cooler masuk dalam cooler lah, kan? Tapi setakat cool mom, okay, you know? Cool mom, okay, alright, cool mom. Anybody else? Why did you not reply that last email in the inbox to the client, you know? And instead you come here. What was it?
I want to learn how you guys raise your kids.
Okay, learning how to raise our kids. The short answer is, please read the book. You know, they're all real stories. They are all things which we have tested. And I must admit that we fail and fumble through the way. But okay, we'll have some highlights, and maybe I'll share with you. Anyone else? How many children you have? No? Just got married. How many do you intend to have? Wow, that's a blow.
7.
I'm sure it has been discussed as part of the premarital agreement arrangement, you know. As many as you could. Well done, well done. Just a show of hands. Anyone has more than 4? 4. More than 4. 5 and above. Okay, so 2 of you. Well done. 6 and above. Yeah, I know. Okay, how to prepare for parenthood? I think that's a very relevant question, because the one thing that both Jamilah did not estimate, or rather prepare, was how to be parents. Let alone how to be husband and wife. We sort of got into it, and that's where we go and sort of dive in then. So very valid. Anything? I need to know the man. Why are you here? Yes. Oh, yes, sir. You have 5. You should be sharing with us.
Yeah, I want to know how to manage my children.
Manage your children. That sounds like a management team, you know. Yeah. So it's really looking. I mean, does a family looks like a corporate organization? You know, you need to deal with children like you deal with the union people and have some negotiation, and to a certain extent, yes and no. But at the end of the day, how do you ensure? Because this is not about love-hate relationship. This is about hope. Yes, sir.
I just want to know.
What? There's so many things that you can gain. Because I think this is the thing that we want to do. We want to be very, sharp on it.
Basically, how to differentiate to raise in a boy.
All right. There's boys and girls, and Puan Jamilah is going to Shah Alam this Sunday for the talk at the Malaysian International Children Fair, MICF, about pink and blue then. So I think that's probably it. I will skip question 2 because I think that's enough things to cover. But before we do that, let's just give a bit more background who we are and one of the things we really say. But I do in any of the program that we attended is to really acknowledge any man who accompanied me. So because it's very rare, and sometimes we don't know where they are, the men. When we celebrate Mother's Day, you will see lots of mothers. When you celebrate Father's Day, you see more mothers than fathers, So with that, can we just give a round of applause to this two gentlemen and the one helping us behind there to say that. So this is me, apart from we are different gender. Jamilah also takes computer science, and I took mechanical engineering. We roughly went through the same path. So we studied in America. We graduated almost the same year. We worked in Shell Sarawak. We got our first son there. That's the boy there. We got a second one after 6 years, and then we moved out. We went to PD, we went to KL, we went to Oman, but before we left to Oman, we got 3 more. So that's what? 2 plus 3, so that's 5. Yeah, that's 5. So 2 generations. So just a bit of time because we may be talking. So the first one just got married and just got a daughter 2 days ago. So that's a computer application engineer. So he has his own company to put in all the computer Apple punya apps. Second one, he married to an Australian, half Yemeni, half Aussie girl, and opened up their own physiotherapy. So after 1 year, they opened a second one just recently in Malaysia. Yes, it's one. He opened up one in Plaza Damas, and the second one is in Bukit Damansara club. Then so they are together. One a businessman, one a physiotherapy. No children yet. Alia, she's the only girl, and that's one of the reasons why our books do not have cool boys and super son, because typically because of our experience as with boys. But Alia, one thing about her, she's in medic, she's in 5th year, she's a student leader at the moment, the chairperson, I don't call it chairman now. She's the president of the student council in her final year in Cyberjaya University. Loves lots of art and doodling, something which we encourage our children. And finally, with her notes, she's been selling her notes to the medic student, and she then published her own book, a medic book on physical examination. So if you have any of your nephews, nieces, or whoever is taking medic, so it's an opportunity, very illustrated, very Gen Y, very colorful, lots of checklists, second print already. Even the second print is about halfway. We just got a lady from studying in Russia purchasing it. So you get a discount for this if you buy from us today, 50 ringgit. Otherwise it's 55.90. So that's Alia. That's the girl, only girl that we have. But otherwise she's very on her way to become to achieve her own passion. We have Safi, computer science now, first year in UIA. And then Sharif is just entered his foundation in UIA in engineering. I wanted to pause Sharif because Sharif is somewhat, when we all have children, we will be challenged by how they behave in one way or the other. I mean, you will have the response. I don't know whether you have 5 children. You will say, how come one of them is giving you one of the challenge that really compared to the others? The others seems to be easy going and this sort of thing. Sharif, can you imagine half of the year in primary, he's not going to school, always complaining stomach ache, always complaining headache. And Jamilah and I will always be saying, why are you not like your brother or sister, you know, who's been to school? And at standard 6, one day he suddenly collapsed, unprovoked, sent to the hospital, went to ICU kind of stuff. Surgeon could not detect what happened to him. So, but he recovered, kind of recovered. We went to the chief pediatric in Malaysia. So he's the #1 top guy, and he says that nothing wrong with this boy. We went to the pathologist, also checked the blood, nothing wrong, no problem in the DNA. They was really clueless on how to resolve Sharif. So he finally went to homeschooling for 1.5 years. Very quiet, very reserved boy, and one of the things that we found out, and Jamilah did lots of research on how to handle him, we found out that Sharif have a certain things which is very sensitive. Noise, environment, some very peculiar things. He was one of those who were the last one to come out from the car. If everybody has gone out, you have to wait for him. You know? So you say he is a slow person. And he's somewhere like always, you know, thinking, you know, really, you know, it's really challenging for us. But to cut the long story short, Form 3, he came back, he went back to school, managed to get 6 A's there in the school. Form 4, ready for his IGCSE because he's not taking SPM after we went overseas in Oman. And he was offered to be the head prefect, despite being quiet, reserved person. He volunteered himself to be in the debating club, debating society. What he did was, during his homeschooling years, he studied through the internet, and he acquired the needs for reading. I had a book competition in the house. Everybody reads, write the title. So you get 100 ringgit for those who read the most for the first year. Sharif read about 432 books. No, sorry, 380 books. Sorry, Sharif 380. So he won.
In a year.
In a year. Book title. Yeah, so we don't care how thick, how you just write, as long as it's a book title, and we trust you. So the following year, they negotiated with me. They said, you know, 1 year is a bit too long lah, yeah, they kata. Can we cut into half 6 months? And I said, yeah, why not? But I so cut your price into half. So we gave 50 ringgit. So Safi won. Safi read 432 books within 6 months. And then Alia then took the final because she finishes her IGCSE. But back to Sharif, what he did was, he found his passion, which is debating, analytical thinking, and all these sorts of things. So he became the school debater. He won the Malaysia school debating competition, best speaker, beating the KTJ and the MCKK of this place, of this world, and also became the top 12 finalists to represent Malaysia in the World School Debating Championship. So head prefect, the best, and he also managed to being given a distinction award by IGCSE Cambridge. Now I took him longer than compared to the other children because of all of us are being tested by our children. So what the final story about Sharif, Jamilah, when he did her research, she found out that Sharif is HSC, having he is identified as the hypersensitive child. There's a whole book about it. There's a change on the diet. There's a change on certain of the things that we have to be sensitive. I have to talk to his siblings to say that, look, you know, Sharif needs some support from you. Don't jeer on him. Don't be cynical. Don't say remarks that hurt him. He's just being himself. You know, sometimes he's in his own world. He reads books like Francis Fukuyama, Plato, The Republic. He reads books by Malcolm, the latest book, David and Goliath, Blink, and all these kind of psychological and very high level books that sometimes I also did not read for that matter. But all I want to say is that you need to then be patient and have that hope on each of the children that you have. And last but not least is Siraj, the boy in the red. He's already 14 now. He's a boy where in his free time, he enjoys experiment very much. So to cut the long story short, and I hope Jamilah, he appears in this magazine when he started his cookie business. So he's a cookiepreneur at the moment. At the age of 3-4 years old, he entered the laboratory of his mother, known as kitchen, and started to mix and everything. At the age of 10, he managed to sell, or rather he managed to make a good original recipe, sell the cookies, and took my challenge to visit his childhood friend to South Africa, Johannesburg. I'm not going to give you the airfare ticket, you got to earn. So he then sold his cookies through his friends. His brother put it online, managed to get 4,000 ringgit within 4 months. And we accompanied him to Johannesburg and back. Again, this is about boys, believing in boys, trusting in boys. Indeed, they are really, this is a challenging time for us because sometimes they know more than us. The children nowadays, they're so much connected with all the things then. The rest, I think, will do. All I wanted to say is that Jamilah then shared a lot of his early experience in these books. I was just a spectator. Man, if you have experienced what they call silent treatment, so the story is in this book. So you need to have that. And then she continued because people were asking why are the boys not doing good enough compared to the girls? So then indeed it is something we all flabbergasted, and we say okay, let's it's time now to reach out to the parents to believe in their boys. So we wrote this book, although it has quite a lot of familiar sort of topics related to girls. So indeed we have included this. And this is about 200 pages, and I wrote 2 pages. So 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. You know from who. So but then finally then we said, I think again with the internet and all those stuff coming up, so we said that let's compile what we have done, and like the book competition, all these things. So this is 123 ideas, really, because when we look at some of the Western books, a lot of the examples are very alien to our culture, and certainly from our religious sensitivity. Obviously, we need to find an alternative. So that's why we put in this. So it's something that has been tested, and now instead of 2 pages, I wrote a chapter out of 10. So that's not so bad, and I think Jamilah is now working on her 4th book, and God help me to try and put more there. So with that, you've seen, and we just wanted you to understand that in any of our situation, just understanding our role and then understanding the children generation is pretty much something that many people have just taken it for granted. Your parents' generation. So how many of you says that you follow what your parent did? Was that the right example to do? No, because when they raised you, there was no internet. When now you raise your children, they have internet. It's already one drastic difference. So let's have a bit more understanding on what is this issue of generation all about. So how many people know about this generation stuff, apart from Gen Y and that sort of things? No? Have anybody read any book or attend seminar on this generation thing? Yeah? So okay, so let's have a bit of understanding today. And I know most of you not from this, but let's work out together these generation things then. No one is from here, I suppose. 1946, you shouldn't be here. If you are still here, then you really not. But I must say, there are still people who are in the boardroom, who are there in the government. They are in the 1946. Can you remember what happened in 1946? your history? World War, yeah, World War, yeah. So there's the World War in. So what happened in war? What happened in war? During the war, trauma, chaos. There were difficulties, right? And how difficult was it? Can anyone share anything what happened in the Japanese occupation from your grandparents or your parents' stories? Pancung kepala is one of the things. So fear, you live with fear. Poverty. What food are they eating, by the way? Oh my God! Not mash ubi kayu. Have you heard about that? Mash ubi kayu. You know, in this book, Puan Jamilah wrote about the story of her mother searching for biji getah in the jungle to rebus it and then eat it. Yeah. I mean, in those desperate moments, you would. So, eating was not easy. Am I right? Transportation, it's virtually nothing for them. They walk. Probably the most richest person have a motorbike, probably. Now, you know that they are living in difficult time, but they kind of, what values do you think that they have, these people? Very conservative, very traditional. They take, they're very patient because the environment, you know, forces them to be patient. How long does it take to eat that biji getah, by the way, or that ubi kayu? How long does it take to eat that tapioca tu, this ubi kayu ni? How long does it take? No, before that. First, in the place, where do you get your biji ubi kayu? In the ground. Now, how long does it take for it to get into 2 to 3 hours? I'm sorry. It has to be at least 6 months kalau tak kena sondol by the babi hutan or some animals, right? So that's the one period already. Once you get, you got to take it, and then you got to go, and then you got to do it, and then you got to then rebus it, and then only you can eat it. You can imagine now, because we are going to see the different world that we are in compared to the others. Let's move on. Baby boomers. Anyone born in this year? One. Come on. Sir? Yeah, okay, can you please stand up? Please. You are with me. I'm standing up. And Jamilah. We are all baby boomers. Now, I wanted to ask you now. What's the main thing what's the dress like when you were there in those era? What was the dress, sir? Ma'am. Zaman tu. Seluar. Orang lelaki pakai seluar apa? Baggy ataupun dia panggil bell bottom. That was the dress that, you know, the fashion that they have. I bet you no one pakai tudung. No, tak ada. And, okay.
Baju kasar rupiah.
Kasar rupiah, okay. And so who was your idol at that time? At that time, what was the celebrity? Hippies. Yes, hippies. Tom Jones. Tom Jones. You have, who is the local one? It has to be Piramli. And what is the story? Tak apa, you can see lah. So what was the story that they typically shows about what? Ibu mertuaku relationship, and also one of the good one was sergeant. And because of nationality, because of the veteran, because it's building. So the baby boomers in their own era, what was their technology at that time? Hardly. How many TV do you have, by the way? I just like to ask this question, you know. Tak ada, you tak ada TV. But kalau yang ada TV tu, how many channel? One. Hitam putih. I remember it because, you know, Blaupang. That was the name. Yes. Blaupang. That was the name. It's a German. Yang dia tutup and then taruh dengan tutup renda and all those things, you know. And satu rumah tak mana kalau dah ada tu terror tu. Phone pun tak ada. How do you go to school, by the way? Jalan kaki. You walk to school. Kaki ayam. Whoa. That was really, you know, itu tak masuk yang tak ada, mana papan batu. There's no books, kan? So you can see now, but they survive. And probably the only food you eat is roti canai lah sebut kan. Pun tak juga, tak pergi makan kat restoran. Tak ada, makan kat rumah kan. Makan kat rumah and very conservative. Ya. Kalau you nak dengar permainan bola, tak pergi ke stadium and tak ada TV, so what do you have? You have radio. So you dengarlah dengan motor dah hari berlari dan kemudian lagu bangsawan ke udara. These are they live with it, you know. And what is your game? Your game. What did you play? Nak konda-kondi, I know konda-kondi. Congkak, galah panjang, police entry. These are their games, kan? These are their games. Okay, can we just move on to the Gen X? How many of you Gen X? Just raise your hand. Whoa, 1, 2, 3. Okay, not bad. Okay, Gen X now. You tell us what's. Oh, by the way, just to comment on the hippies, these baby boomers are the one who's responsible for the drugs to be used. Yeah, they are the one who introduced drugs, you know, and they also having some difficulty in their identity. Ganja and these sort of things. But having said that, they have some strong resilience. Despite the difficulties, despite the papan, despite the kaki ayam, despite tak ada tengok apa, they survive. They survive. They are survivors because the veteran have given them the hope. Education is key for your success. Nampak tak? Satu bus akan hantar ke airport kalau dia dapat pergi ke universiti. Bukannya overseas, local. Correct or not? Oh, kalau kenduri and all sorts of things, you can imagine. Now, tak ada orang pun komplain sangat kan? Dia tak komplain pun malam tu tak ada makan banyak, nasi dengan garam dan ikan bilis. So those were the days kan. But Gen X, tell me now Gen X, how many channels do you have? Just now increase a bit more. 3. TV3 ada color. Belum buat lagi kan. Okay. Now you can imagine. So fashion has already now start changing. At that time is rambut kembang, afro. Yeah. So now what you do eat restaurant nowadays for you guys compared to the baby boomers who's eating at home. Yeah. Still not so much, but are you still waiting at the bank to go to the teller? Yes. Yeah. Things are no more ATM yet at the moment. Yeah. So I suppose you now have a bus to go to school. Yeah, a bit more comfort because your parents and some of you mesin kain tu still terror lagi itulah. Phone. Yang sewing machine. But your parents some of them are going to work, the wife, some of them are becoming so slowly. So now you start to see the changing pattern of the community now. And numbers of how many children do they have, by the way? Veteran. Your grandparents ni, how many children do they have? My grandmother alone 17 children. Tak ada washing machine, tak ada bibi, tak ada wiwi, tak ada all those cooker, and 9 survive lah until apa nama ni kan. So you can imagine, we met another one, 16 masih hidup semua lagi. Those are really tough time, and yet they still can survive. But now Gen X, your number is getting less and less now. Even that now, one of the things that baby boomers have already, or the veteran has done to you, is that education is so important that you now are emphasizing to your children, right or wrong?
Yes.
Because the baby boomers, kalau dia hantar anak pergi sekolah, dia kata, cikgu, anak-anak saya buatlah apa yang patut cikgu, kan, jadi dia manusia. Now, what is Gen X punya conversation? Anything happen to my child, you see my lawyer. So different. It's so different. Of course, you have good reasons to do that because of abuse and this sort of things, kan? But the paradigm has changed now between the two generations. So the emphasis was more on education and family values from Gen X. Gen Y now. Let's move on to Gen Y. Gen Y. No, belum lagi iPad. Gen Y. Well, how many of you here? Oh my God, you are really coming up. Yeah. So you guys now have the new internet now. At least you have computers now, right? What do you play when you were young, a bit younger? Pac-Man, Tetris. Ini Tetris, all those games in the computers are starting to be the time that you do. And you start having handphones, do you? Yes, some of you. Compared to the Gen X having the big phone yang bawa atas bawah tu kan, yang atur tu kan. You know? So and now you start to have all the fast food, right? Unlike them who do not have that fast food. So things get faster because now you got transportation, you travel, internet starts to come in, and there's a lot of demands in them. This one is looking at the political environment. This one looks at the family values. This one, their demand is actually for the way we work. That's where in corporate organization there's a lot more in terms of telecommuting and that sort of thing. Online games, fashion start to change now. Food, there's plenty of choices now, am I right? Yeah? How many channels of TV do you have again? Whoa! You're sitting down, for only 1 minute you tekan, you just be sitting there like 100 minutes, right? Just tekan aja, 1 minute per channels. Betul tak? Food you are spoiled for. Today when you want to ask for dinner, what do we have for dinner? You have to think. Compared to those guys, when they are trying to ask for dinner, what was it? Ubi kayu ini mak. Kacang je mak. Sambal aja mak. I mean this one, from the pizza, from the, the KFC of this world. So you can see now, moving on, you can see now the Z and the Alpha is going to really change now. Z, I just wanted to say, they are our teenagers, children now. They are so much exposed to the internet, and I know Jamilah is going to talk to you some of the nature and their habits shortly. We won't touch a lot with Alpha, but certainly Alpha. How many of you are the Alpha children? About 2-3 years. Oh my God, 25% of them around the world are already exposed to smartphones. Yes? They can set your setting better than you are. I guarantee you. They don't have to look at manuals. Yeah, whoever in the TV, our children, Gen Z says, take away the TV. In fact, we stopped Astro because they can download things now. You see, the Alpha has their own strength because both of them is Z dengan Alpha ni, their exposure to technology, multimedia. Schools are having problem to engage with them, to attract them, to make them. And parents equally having problem to communicate with them. My God, how we now, with this new challenge that we face. Because if they ask you questions, I mean, we had the same question, when at one dinner time, and Jamilah will mention that later. And how do you respond? What is sex? So it's in the middle of the family time. If you don't respond to that one, who are they going to ask to? No, Uncle Jujel, Uncle Google, or Mufti Wiki, Sheikhul Twitter, Maulana Internet. So they have all the answers. One girl came to the mother. Mother, what's the meaning of gay? And the mother, I mean happy. But that's not what it means, dia kata. So panic juga mother tu nak jawab to the 8-year-old girl. So again, we are confronted with serious issues with the children nowadays, with this internet. So I think we now move on to just get you back into the mode of knowing this Z and Alpha. So I call upon Jamilah now. And then when she finishes, we'll just walk through the questions that you have. Yeah? And then we'll move on. And over to you. What time should we finish, by the way? 6:50 is okay. So we got a 5 minutes injury time there. Yeah?
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. Thank you very much for being here with me and my husband here. Now we were moving on from where Ahmad Fakri has temporarily stopped, because I'm quite sure he's coming back here, inshallah. Now there are certain characteristics among the generations, Generation Y, Z and Alpha, who have been born into the internet. And before I delve into that, I just would like to mention that when I first did research on this book, Parenting Gen Y and Z, actually it's I generation, yeah? Children who have been brought up in the internet era. I wondered whether there was really anything significant at all between people, because after all, when we see people, people are people, isn't it? They have a pair of eyes, one mouth and one nose. So I was really asking whether this is a legitimate issue to be researched. But the more I researched, actually there were quite a lot, in fact, a huge body of research which proved that yes, there are a lot of differences between people who have been born into different generations, which Ahmad Fakri has pointed out just now. Based on the discussions, you can see that there are indeed a lot of differences because of our experiences. Now, if you're still not convinced, those of you who have been born earlier, like Generation X, or in your 40s, late 30s, even in your late 30s, before the internet explosion came about, these days we have video blogs, Facebook and all that. But in my time, and people who are in my generation, when we have something very upsetting, something that stirred the depth of our emotions, you know what we did? Yes. Did any one of you here had a diary? And what did we do to the diary? Dear diary. And you pour out all your heart, whatever thoughts, whatever upsets, marah ke, crush ke dengan next door neighbor or your classmate, whatever, you will jot whatever your thoughts are into that diary, and you will put it into your wherever, some place where nobody will ever find it, right? And then just imagine if your brother, yang naughty one, tu yang nakal tu, suddenly found it and read it, it's going to be World War II. But these days, for the younger generation, there's no such thing. And you can find almost everything, almost their thoughts, whatever yang tersedia dalam hati, you can see online. Now, I'm not saying that's a wrong thing, because at the end of the day, it's not about being wrong or right. And what I'm trying to say is that you have to realize how people who are born in different generations and exposed to different environments actually have different behaviors and attitudes. What used to be very alien, like no to us, is actually an accepted norm these days. Yeah, so you can see how we look the same, but our thoughts and behaviors are quite different in certain basic ways. Now, we know that the internet generation, especially Generation Y, have been born into the era where sometimes if we were to take them out of the internet, it's like taking fish out of water, right? You feel very, very uncomfortable. In fact, I remember reading a post by one of my children's friends. One day without internet is so excruciating, sangat menyiksakan batinku. Is that true? No? I don't know. Now, there are certain attitudes of Generation Internet that are of concern. And when I'm saying this, it's not just in Malaysia. This is a global phenomenon. It's happening everywhere in the world, not just in Asia. It's happening even in the States. It's just that we are on average 1 decade slower. Yeah, whatever is happening over there, because internet starts from there. So it's like we are 10 years behind them. We won't have time to go over them. Actually, it's all in here in this book, Parenting Gen Y and Z, or Internet Generation. Now, I just would like to start with the first concern, which is called instant gratification. And if you were to look at that chart over there, what I've scribbled over there, you will see how from generations to generations. Daripada generasi veteran tu, where people are so used to waiting, a lot of waiting, yeah. Nak makan, if you want to eat, you used to wait to cook and this and that, you know, to bring back home stuff from the market and cook it. It's very difficult to get stuff instant, yeah. I remember my first taste of something that instant was Maggi mee. But my mom, and I'm sure your parents as well, didn't grow up on instant stuff, yeah. And it's not just on food. These days we also see, for instance, 30, 40 years ago, when we were overweight, when somebody was overweight, what would that person do to lose weight? Exercise and eat good food. What do we do these days to gain weight? We go to Slimming World. Or we go for Botox or liposuction or whatever. And in fact, this is something that is increasingly becoming trendy. You know, if you were to flip through the pages of the newspapers, online or print media, it's everywhere. This concept of instant losing weight. Again, it's also about instant gratification, not having to wait. And another example is credit cards. 20, 30 years ago, it's unthinkable to get something which is beyond your reach. If you're not financially stable, you know, you don't have such things as credit card. But these days, you're actually rewarded if you were to use credit cards. It's very, very encouraged. And this is a real problem these days, which is actually growing. If you're aware of this agency called AKDK, it's a local agency. And the sad thing is that people who go to AKDK are not all poor people. They're not all poor people. It's like Generation X and younger. They earn quite a lot. Sometimes, you know, even 5-digit figures, they earn as much as that, both professionals, and they seem to lead a lavish lifestyle. Yeah? How? Through credit cards. And to their shock, they realized that they can't afford it. After quite some time, they've maxed out all the cards and they got into deep financial trouble. So again and again, if we were to turn a blind eye to this culture of instant gratification, we are actually raising children who will find themselves in deep trouble. All right? Now, having said that, I would like to share with you research that was done back in the 1960s. There was this group of children, about 4 years old, who were being brought into a place where a group of researchers were doing the research, and each of these children were told by these researchers that there was this cookie, marshmallow actually. Have any one of you heard of this experiment? It's called the marshmallow experiment. Tak pernah dengar? Pernah. How many of you have heard of it? Okay, one person. Do you mind if I share the story here? Okay, so each of these children went into a room where the research was done, and in the room was a table, and on the table was a single marshmallow on a plate. Imagine this is a plate and you have a single marshmallow. So the researcher would tell each child, as the child came in, that you see one marshmallow here. Now, if you don't mind waiting for me, I'm going out for about 15 to 20 minutes, and if you can be patient until I come back, you can have 2 marshmallows. So that's quite clear, right? Everybody's clear on that. If you have to have the marshmallow now, nak sangat, I just can't wait, you can only have 1 marshmallow. And if you can wait, you can have 2 marshmallows. So let's see what the children did. Yeah? Can we have the lights out for a while? Boleh padam lampu? So that we get a clearer view. Is there somebody at the, behind there? Yes. You have to see.
Let's just give it a try.
Okay. Boleh play ya? Okay. Tak apa Emma. It's okay. Alright. Tak apa, Mak. Boleh buat.
I'm here because I have a very important message. I think we have found the most important factor for success. And it was found close to here, Stanford. Psychology professor took kids that were 4 years old and put them in a room all by themselves. And he would tell the child, a 4-year-old kid, Johnny, I'm going to leave you here with a marshmallow for 15 minutes. If after I come back, this marshmallow is here, you will get another one. So you will have 2. To tell a 4-year-old kid to wait 15 minutes for something that they like is equivalent to tell us, we'll bring you coffee in 2 hours. Exact equivalent. So, what happened when the professor left the room? As soon as the door closed, 2 out of 3 ate the marshmallow. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 40 seconds, 50 seconds, 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 8 minutes. Some lasted 14 and a half minutes. Couldn't do it. Could not wait. What's interesting is that 1 out of 3 would look at the marshmallow and go like this. Would look at it, put it back. They would walk around. They would play with their skirts and pants. That child already at 4 understood the most important principle for success, which is the ability to delay gratification. Self-discipline, the most important factor for success. 15 years later, 14, 15 years later, follow-up study. What did they find? They went to look for these kids that were now 18 and 19, and they found that 100% of the children that had not eaten the marshmallow were successful. They had good grades, they were doing wonderful, they were happy, they had their plans, they had good relationship with the teachers, students, they were doing one fine. A great percentage of the kids that ate the marshmallow, they were in trouble. They did not make it to the university, they had bad grades, some of them dropped out, a few were still there with bad grades, a few had good grades. I had a question in my mind. Would Hispanic kids react the same way as the American kids? So I went to Colombia and I reproduced the experiment, and it was very funny. I used 4, 5, and 6 years old kids. And let me show you what happened.
Hasta para un niño de 4 años es atractiva la idea de tener el 100% de retorno a la inversión en 15 minutos. Sin embargo, algunos de ellos, tan pronto la puerta se cerró, se perdieron el marshmallow inmediatamente. Otros, en cambio, resistieron el impulso.
Second group. Did you manage to follow the story? What happened is that when the experiment was done, the kids were just 4 years old. So this is what we call the longitudinal research, meaning that the kids were tracked down 14 years later at the age of 18, and they actually wanted to compare between 1 marshmallow kids dengan 2 marshmallow kids, and they found that there was a huge difference between these two groups. Padahalnya, to us sometimes we can hardly see the difference. What's the difference between 15 and 20 minutes waiting, and you can actually predict whether they will be more successful or not in life. And how did they manage to find out? Because the researchers spoke to the teachers, to the families, to the students themselves, and the teachers told the researchers that the kids who are 2 marshmallow kids who were able to wait 15 to 20 minutes they made better friends, they got better grades, generally more successful. And the 1 marshmallow kids were less patient, susah nak dapat kawan, have anger issues and this and that, in general. And of course, the next thing you will ask is, how do you know? Because this is a subjective matter. When you ask people's opinions, orang ni cakap ni, orang ni cakap ni, so how do you know whether this is objective or not? So since it is a science, what they did next was they asked these children who are already 18 years old to sit for a test. It's called a SAT test, SAT, Scholastic Aptitude Test. And they were really shocked at what they found, because the average marks between 1 marshmallow kids dengan 2 marshmallow kids is actually about 200 marks. That means the 2 marshmallow kids got, on average, 218 actually, marks higher, out of a total of 600. Amazing tak? Amazing. That's why sometimes, especially for us working parents, we tend to give in to our children's demands, right? Balhanya, sometimes when we come to think long term, actually when we want to make them happy all the time, we are actually making them miserable in the long run, because they're not able to wait. Because the ability to wait is actually a source of happiness in the long run. Since all of us are Muslims, I just wanted to mention dari sudut Islam pun, it's always about sabar, it's always about patience, which has been emphasized in the Quran. And the longest wait that we have to do is for Jannah. And if you look at the statistics, if you look at the statistics about boys getting into trouble, girls having premarital sex and all this, it's always about not being able to wait, tak sabar. Before marriage, you want to do this, you want to do that. The teenagers who break into people's homes, indiscipline, getting money, tak sabar nak kerja, kan? It's always about not being patient. You can see how it's linked actually. So it is scientifically proven how making our kids wait is really good for them. Of course, we don't want them to wait all the time. There will be times when they need something, we give them. And it has to be reasonable, sesuai dengan umur dia. Right? You heard just now the professor saying that for small children, 4 years old, 15 to 20 minutes is actually like 2 hours. So we have to be reasonable. Tak kalau nak ini, sometimes you have to give in also. But at times when they have to wait, they have to wait. But rather than using a very high-handed way, you talk to them and make it make it interesting and worthwhile for them to wait. With that, I would like to take back to
just quick one. Those who say Piramli, how many times, many people watch Piramli movie, right? Anyone didn't watch? No, obviously. What was the one with regards to relationship with parents and children? What was the famous one? Anakku Sazali. Anakku Sazali at that time, tell me, ada internet tak? And yet he was the biggest gangster in Singapore. What causes it? Bukan salah ibu mengandung. It's because father dia bagi semua. I have a clip here when I showed in Sarawak. Many people even cried. I know they've watched it hundreds of times, but when you watch it with the perspective that you yourself is responsible to the development when you raise your children. Look, you can't stop it. The only instant here is pancong kepala, right? The rest are not, nothing is instant. But when you walk here, they want everything now. In fact, siapa lambat pun kita kita penalize lagi. Pizza punya orang tu lambat datang from the 30 minutes. Siapa dapat free? So mak lambat ni. So everything they need instant. So our job is really to manage what they want and what they need. That's two different things. You can see how, you know, the baby boomers and the veterans, they waited for things. They patiently persevere. Sekarang ni, everything not instant. I ask you now, how long have we stayed here? 1 hour, almost. Every 15 minutes is where the divorce rate here in Malaysia. One couple dah divorce. 15 minit. And you know how long pula the unwed pregnancy, child delivered due to unwed pregnancy now in Malaysia? How many minutes can you say to me? One child is being born now? Every 17 minutes and 17 seconds. 3 babies already born now. Proven officially. How do we know? Pergi ke JPN, cari dekat nama bapa, tiada, ataupun tiada bapa, ataupun kosong. That's from the official figure. 250,000 babies born without official name of their father. Kalau you campur dengan orang yang budak yang kena baling dalam tong sampah, dalam bilik air, dalam semak, I bet you the statistic is about 10 seconds per baby. We are really living in the time where it's nothing. It's nothing. This all is part of parcel of the society of being modern by being, you know, instant in everything. So kalau kita tak manage, and this is where I wanted to respond now onto some of these, and I think we need your help also, dear. The thing about kids. None of your kids, when you delivered, have a letter held in the hand to say that, okay, you take care of me, I'm going to be the top surgeon in this world. None of it. Nothing was written. Your job is to raise them. And the criteria given as a parents, that no one is always about being patient. And to be patient is because you have to have the knowledge. Without the knowledge, last night I knew why actually this baby, when they are born, they wake up in the middle of the night. Apparently it's because of the mother's milk is best at that hour. So fathers, to be fathers, tell your husband, stay awake at the night. You are the night shift, you know, plus changing the diapers. How to be cool mom, and boys and girls, would you like to tackle on that one? Okay, I think I've given in terms of, as I said just now, managing your kids, each and having different character. One of my favorite subject in raising children is about birth order. Birth order is that depending on where is your position in the family, it will influence your behavior. Because why? Because why? Because the father or the mother looks at the first child, middle child, and last born child differently. Let me prove it to you. Firstborn datang, 1 egg in 1 basket. You tatang dia. So, baju baru, kasut baru, sekolah baru, everything is baru. It datang second one, still the first one gets all the thing. And the first one is being given what? A lot of task, a lot of responsibility, a lot of things. Second one comes in. How many photographs in first one? How many gigabyte? When second one comes in, second one dia dapat apa? Second one become all the stuff. Second hand stuff, baju, you know. Hantar bas sekolah je lah dah. Tak payah nak hantar. Dulu kita nak. So, but now when the third one comes in, so what happen now? The third one becomes the attention. So what happened to the middle one? You see, middle one, that's why you see middle one is rebel. But it's not true they rebel. They just want the same attention that was given to them. And sometimes it's not your fault also, because when you go to the wedding, the uncle will be asking, Along mana? And then adik dia cubit pipi. No one talks about the second one. Yeah, and the second one tends to be one who outgoing, you say them rebellious, but they were the smartest one. They take longer time to pakai dia tudung more louder, because they got to outdo. Because what the parents has been, so same parents but different way raising them. And the last one, you know, you doted them, you look after them, you ignore the rest. And then dia bagi, dia ni ambassador. Kalau nak bagi tahu mak anything, so the other two will delegate to the third one. Most of them are the third one ni is entertainers or people oriented. HR people are kebanyakannya as youngest. You know, that's what happened. Media are also HR, but also lawyers, because they tend to be, kalau dia masuk kereta, who sits in the center? Typically, is the middle one, because they are human negotiator. They allow, because first one and the second one gets preferential. But the problem about this is that the first one, you always give them the task. 50%, more than 50% of American president and the Malaysian prime minister are from the firstborn. Because why? They were given the task. So your job as parents now realizing this particular area is to balance it out. Okay?
Just to add to what Mak Fakir has said just now, to become a successful parent, yeah, whether you're a father or a mother, actually, if I could sum it in a few words, it's about being kind but firm. You have to be firm, yeah, and also you require knowledge. We all require knowledge. At some point in time, when you feel lost doing parenting, raising your children, maybe there is some missing link yang kita tak tahu. So we need to be modest and say that I really don't know how to do this, and seek for help. Sometimes you do that. Sometimes through reading, sometimes through counseling. And do not be embarrassed if you ask somebody for help, because, you know, dealing with children, number one, children are unique. Yes, you know, even when you learn about this, about that, about children, there's no end to it. Because sometimes you know certain things about children, but this is actually a science that is evolving. When it comes to psychology, more and more are being discovered about the psychology of children, even in medical sciences itself. And another thing that I would like to mention is that you need to respect their differences. Because each child, memang Allah jadikan, God has created each child to excel in his or her own way. They have the potential to excel, to be geniuses. It's just that sometimes our own expectations may not respect that, the uniqueness that God has created them to be. Yeah. Sometimes, for instance, you know, maybe you come from a family of doctors, for instance, and you want at least one of your children to be a doctor, and it so happened that you have 4 children, sampai yang bongsu pun nobody interested to become a doctor. So that pressure on that particular child, for instance, to become a doctor, well, maybe that child can become a doctor, but she could have become an excellent architect, for instance, you know. So an opportunity is lost there. And of course, we do not encourage at all to paksa and all that, yeah? And another thing I would like to mention is on the relationship. Very quick one, because you will find that as the child gets older and older, more matured, if you focus on the relationship, things become much, much easier as they grow older. So sometimes nurturing that positive relationship is not really about making big changes, huge changes in how you do things, and it's not even about you saying yes to every single thing that your children want. When you have clear rules, but you're firm, you can still develop a very good relationship. At the same time, bila dah ada good relationship to the child, feel encouraged to excel. You know, because children yang feel that kita respect dia, have a good relationship, they want to please us all the time. So please bear that in mind. Yang itu, how to be a cool mom, which is related to what I said. I think one that is missing is, how to manage my kids. About discipline is more, we need to know the ages and stages. Yeah, different children at different developmental levels, we need to know how to deal with them. Unfortunately, we don't have time to deal with that. Boys versus girls, this is another different area. A very quick, they are not the same, and we know that they're not the same. Boys and girls, for instance, one example is in terms of brain. Kalau boys' brains, it tends to be the left and the right tu memang bigger, but the connections are less. Yeah, the connections between the left and the right brain are less. And what this means is that sometimes they need help with certain tasks like expressing themselves. We know that boys sometimes, kurang sikit bercakap and all that, so you need help with that. Yeah. So there are certain intelligences that that boys are better. For instance, spatial intelligence, SPATIL. Itu yang boys and men in general are better in reading maps. Orang perempuan ni sometimes kita lah, not all, because I do have friends who are women who are way better than their husbands in reading maps. When I say this, these are just generalities lah, tendencies kan. We find it difficult as women to read maps, for instance. But insyaAllah, kalau ada kesempatan, you are most welcome to attend to my session dekat on this Sunday, Malaysian Islamic Children's Fair, Boys versus Girls. So I'll go into that as well.
Alright, before we finish, just to finalize, just in case you have more things to say, so join us in our Facebook called Cool Mom Super Dad. So that's our Facebook. So Jamilah and I tends to put some tips there. If you have any inquiries, then that's your email, or you can message us. We're having a public speaking for teenagers. One of the things that Jamilah and I will conduct on school holidays. So those are the 3 days. If teenagers mean secondary school. And then every 4th Saturday of the month next year onward, we will have neuro-linguistic programming for parents. It's a public program we do at our academy in Ampang. Those are the phone calls that you can call our marketing manager if you need details, or visit our website then. Thank you very much. I know it's been short, we are rushing. We wish it's more. Maybe next year we can organize more focused topic, I enjoy talking about fathers and daughters. Because that's something that I wanted to, because of the issue that we are facing, challenge, and also boys and fathers also have some challenge kadang-kadang. And Jamilah and I talks about sibling rivalry. You know your sibling rivalry is happening even now, even the age of 40, 50 tak bertegur hari raya, tak pergi melawat. It's because that starting at the age of young, we have not nipped at the bud. So those are very important topics and areas, but we took it for granted. And I wish you all the best as parents, as in case some of you are growing and will have grandchildren in future. This issue of family relationship and will continue to remain as our greatest challenge then, until we die. So with that, yang baik itu datang daripada Allah, yang buruk itu adalah kelemahan daripada kami, dan mohon maaf. Diakhiri dengan wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Back to the master ceremony on closing the session then, insyaAllah.
Thank you very much, Jamilah and Jamilah. I think I'll just speak from here. I think we will end for today. And as mentioned, the books are actually sold. You can actually take them and pay later. The single point of contact will be Murni. So she will take your details and you can actually pay directly to her later by the end of this week, inshallah. I think if there's any questions, I'm sure some of you have questions, you can actually pose it directly to Jamilah and Jamilah. Yeah. So you can contact them via Facebook, PM them, or if you want to go through myself or Murni, we can actually collect your questions and maybe pass them over to Jamilah and Jamilah. Okay? So, if there's nothing else, that we can proceed to end. Refreshments are on the M floor. So, kita jemputlah Cik Jamilah dengan Cik Fakir makan sekali.